I think that the biggest crime a movie can commit, besides an actual crime of course, is being disappointing. There is nothing worse than giving your hard-earned money to a movie theater, sitting down in a seat with a grin on your face and popcorn on your lap, only to slowly, over the course of the film, realize how big of a mistake you have just made. Essentially being trapped for 2 to 3 hours while you are subjected to watching something that, by all accounts, you honestly should have known was not going to be good. And that is the problem we find ourselves in today, my dear viewers, because despite having one of the most entertaining and quotable action stars of his time as its lead, and being centered around a gigantic dinosaur shark, The Meg is quite possibly one of the most boring and least fun movies that I've ever had the displeasure of sitting down and watching. So The Meg is actually a movie that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. After you guys liked my Shark Night video for some reason and wanted more shark-based content, I knew that the next movie I had to talk about in this ongoing series had to be none other than The Meg. It's sort of my white whale, you could say, or white shark, I guess. Because as much as I have tried, the endless amount of research I have done, the time and effort that I've given up for the subject, this movie still completely perplexes me. So I guess we gotta give a little background first. The Meg was a 2018 action blockbuster directed by John Turteltaub and stars Jason Statham, Ruby Rose, Rainn Wilson, and a bunch of other actors that I'm not familiar with. Now, the synopsis for the film, and I quote, is, with time running out, rescue diver Jonas Taylor must save the crew of a deep-sea submersible from a colossal 75-foot-long prehistoric shark known only as the Megalodon. And now if you have not seen the movie, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, that actually sounds kinda cool. A rescue mission at the bottom of the ocean where Jason Statham is getting stalked by a Megalodon? And I agree, if that was the plot of the movie, it would sound very badass. However, if you are unlucky enough to have actually watched The Meg, then you know that this synopsis given to me directly from Amazon, mind you, is not even close to what the movie is about. Now, I haven't seen this since it came out, and most of the actual plot points have completely left my brain, so when I booted this up to watch it and I saw that this was the supposed plot, I got kind of optimistic. This seems like a very cool idea for the movie, and there's a lot that you could do with this premise, and I don't know, it just seems like a lot of fun. Maybe I've been wrong about this film for all this time. This synopsis is a plot point for about 30 minutes of the nearly 2-hour-long film. Now, what is the rest of the film composed of, you ask? Bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Just a bunch of unlikable characters dicking around before a crappy-looking shark shows up every once in a while, and no, yeah, that's about it. So straight away, I'm not going to waste anybody's time here. By far the worst thing about The Meg is its tone. The title for this video is Missed Potential at its Finest, and I genuinely believe that. Because for half the film's duration, the movie is trying to be this gripping character piece that takes itself so laughably serious that it's actually annoying. And for the other half, the movie is some dumb Fast and the Furious type action comedy shark movie. And spoiler alert here, neither one of these work whatsoever. But what's even worse is that when combined, the whole film feels like this weird mess that just never knows whether you're supposed to laugh at it or with it. And I really do believe that if they just stuck with one solid tone for the movie, either a dumb fun action or a serious dark thriller, then there is an infinitely better film on everybody's hands. Definitely not a perfect one, but much better than whatever this was trying to be. Eli Roth actually got fired as director of the project for wanting a much more dark and shark-forward story, whereas Warner Bros. Wanted a much more family-friendly cut of the movie to be their big tentpole release of the summer. So in the end, after Frankensteining the two ideas together, they just satisfied nobody. It's a shame too, because I think if they leaned into the dumb fun aspects of the movie, it really does seem like there could have been some enjoyment to be had here. Now moving on to a little bit of the story, the opening scene of the movie is Statham performing a rescue operation on a submarine that has been mysteriously attacked. And in this one scene alone, I can genuinely make a 30-minute video about the sheer stupidity that occurs here. So the whole backbone of The Meg is there's some scientists that go down below the Mariana Trench and find a whole new ecosystem down there that some Megs have been living in for the past 4 million years, who of course they end up pissing off and bringing up to the surface. But in this opening scene here, Statham is, as far as we know, nowhere near the Mariana Trench, but the submarine that he's rescuing gets eaten by a Meg. So just literally in the first 2 minutes of the film, the entire driving force of the movie, that these bozos were the ones who brought the Meg up to the fucking wreak havoc in the open ocean, is disproven. Because apparently there was already a Meg out there that Statham encountered. Now nobody brings this fact up, nobody questions how he saw a Meg if the Meg has only lived in the trench until now. It just happens and the movie just expects you to ignore this massive plot hole that completely derails literally the entire film. All the exposition about how the Megs could only come out of the trench because of the submarines going in, and Rainn Wilson's annoying ass thinking that it's all his company's fault that they escaped their habitat, 2 huge plot points in this movie down the drain. And then from this point we learn that Statham got fired and was deemed insane for claiming a giant shark attacked the sub, which in any normal circumstance, sure. But there are nearly a dozen people that he saved from the wreck, and none of them or the team that was with him saw any signs of a gigantic shark that had eaten half the submarine. The movie also makes up this shit called depth psychosis, which for some reason I looked up, and yeah, it's not a real thing at all. So the film just decided to invent a mental illness to try and fix its own issues. Keep in mind that this is all within the first 5 minutes of the film. Do you see what I'm talking about now? There's also the fact that the Meg can just survive outside of the Mariana Trench now. They specifically state that the temperatures in that water was basically freezing, and there is no light down there whatsoever to be seen. And now this shark that has lived in that trench for at least 4 million years and successfully adapted and evolved to fit that extremely specific ecosystem can just chill up on the surface with no issues. I promise you I can go on and on, but this script is getting long enough as it is, so let's move on to the real star of the show, the Meg himself, or I guess the Megs. There's two of them. It really doesn't matter. There's also not really much that I can say about him. It's just this big CGI action set piece. It's not scary because it never feels real, and as crazy as it sounds, there isn't any personality to it either. Now, I'm not saying that the shark needs to up and start cracking jokes to Turkish, but if you watch something like The Shallows, for example, an actually decent shark movie, the shark itself has this real primal feeling to it. It really gives you the sense that it's some insane, bloodthirsty animal that wants nothing more than to harm our main characters. This aspect is such an important and underutilized factor in these shark movies, and the only thing that the Meg makes me think of is this.
If I could take you up in paradise up above, if you would tell me I'm the only one that you...
Now, I left this spot on the script open for me to talk about the characters, but I'm just not going to. I was thinking about it, and I mean, they're all nothing. It's either a bunch of poorly written or just straight up poorly acted people clumped together on this, I guess, team. Statham's pretty good though, I can't lie, he's always entertaining. But then there's this lady, Bing Bing Lee. I just knew I had seen this chick in something else before. And after a quick IMDb search, what exactly did I find? Transformers Age of Extinction.
What have I done?
Now you guys are probably thinking, Colt, what the hell does this have to do with anything? Well, you see, both the Meg and Age of Extinction are the most blatant, sorry excuses for Chinese pandering that I have ever seen in an American-made film. And this poor bastard had a star in both of them. She's honestly not even that bad of an actress. She just is turning out to be the poster child for these movies that Hollywood knows won't do great stateside, so they decide to fill them with the stuff that does well overseas. And even little things, like repeating each measurement in the film in both the imperial system and the metric system. There's even a point in here at the very start where we get an establishing shot of Shanghai, and then a little title card pops up and says Shanghai. But then immediately after, practically the next shot, the camera just cuts to the middle of the ocean, and we get an entirely new location title card. It is actually fucking insane how bad they tried hiding this. And I definitely don't think that a movie with influence from other countries is inherently a bad thing, but in this scenario, it's such a lazy way of ensuring that you make enough money that they might as well have just had Jason Statham himself go down to China and fondle the balls of each and every person that lives there. And don't even get me started on the dialogue. I am being 100% genuine here when I say that there is not a single line of dialogue spoken in the entire 113-minute runtime that is something that a normal human being would possibly say. It's embarrassing, you should be embarrassed. Now, all of this to say what exactly? Because I think the main thing we can get from this whole video so far is, why even watch the movie in the first place? What about it seemed good? Well, first of all, I hate myself and I don't learn from my mistakes, especially not when it comes to shark movies. And second, believe it or not, the movie actually looked kinda cool. Before anything official happened, there were names like Guillermo del Toro and Eli Roth attached, and the movie was set to be this dark undersea horror, sort of like the synopsis that I saw earlier, which I think that everyone can agree is a better idea than what we ended up with. The marketing in general was way better than it had any right to be, with the posters referencing Jaws and the Frank Sinatra song that everybody and their mom associates with Finding Nemo getting blasted during every second of the trailers. Which, in hindsight, the trailers and posters for the film really only show scenes from the final beach segment of the movie, and since this is easily the only half-decent scene of the film, and by half-decent I mean it ruins the pacing of the climax, doesn't do anything very fun with the idea of a megalodon at a crowded beach, and just all around sucks ass, but it has one or two cool money shots and is at least entertaining as a premise, then yeah, I guess it's half decent. So I'm definitely still an idiot for not just seeing this movie in theaters and directly giving it my money, but also renting this abomination on Amazon for this video. So what exactly is the issue with that? The Meg was the 15th highest grossing movie of 2018. Let me tell you some of the films that it beat out. Wreck-It Ralph 2, Bumblebee, Solo: A Star Wars Story, A Quiet Place, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I promise you, I can go on. From the overseas pandering that, clearly paid off, to the strong marketing campaign that somehow made this one of the most talked about movies of the summer, The Meg miraculously tricked hundreds of thousands of suckers like myself into shelling out our money for a massive waste of time. $530 million worth of our time to be exact. So of course a sequel was right on the way. Wait, I'm sorry, what? Did you say a sequel? Yeah, no, you heard me correctly. Bad press and low review scores do nothing against money. So in just a few short months, The Meg 2 The Trench is coming out. And with the trailer that was just recently released, I gotta be kinda honest, they did it again. Judge me all you want, because there is no way that I'm not seeing this movie opening night. Will I be disappointed? 100%. Will I immediately regret my decision and spend the duration of the film rethinking my life choices? Most definitely. But you know, there's something about these shark movies that is so addicting to me. The bad acting, the even worse CGI, the fact that even now, in 2023, people are still trying to ride off the success of Jaws. I just can't help myself. And I really can't stress this enough, it is the same thing each and every time I put one of these shark movies on. And likewise, each and every time I have a terrible experience. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the video. The Meg fucking sucks.
I pull out the dirty, don't speak to the cops, I'ma need my attorneys. Stop the way you fucking lies. I'm living truth, never tell you a lie. Bird, look up and fly. I bust a word, I got smoke in my eyes.